Hello, everyone. Welcome to Forum Friday. Today, I have Mark with me, and it's been a busy time over at the forums. Hi, Mark. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Yes, it seems like yesterday we were just talking about this. It's been busy all around, right?
It's
Even with
been
some summer
busy, and that's
vacation.
because everyone on the forum has been so helpful. You know, I am really not accessible, all the time in terms of
Hmm.
answering these questions, but I am totally floored by the answers
Yeah,
given by
and
everyone in the community.
it's just been wonderful with all the contributions that have been happening. There are a couple of principal contributors who are seems like they're on there all the time. So,
And that's
but
awesome. I
good
mean,
for
I
them. I
mean,
mean, it
different
saves me a
people with
lot of
different
time, that's for
opinions.
sure, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
because
totally
if
awesome.
I disagreed with what they were saying, I would certainly jump in or remove the posts, right? But
Right.
that is not the case, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
always
let's
good
talk about
information.
what's going on.
Yes.
There is this question from someone that talks about Mexican bolillos.
Yes. And this is a great conversation. It actually started back in the end of May. And this is our member, Rodrigo. And he's a larger bakery in Mexico. And they make what is called a bolio bun. And this reminds me a lot of the German buns, the Brötchen, but these are a little bit bigger. And
So
they
are
are
they like
essentially
a foot long, or what
not
are they
quite. They're
like?
about 6 inches, right? And
Okay.
maybe about 3.5 inches, 4 inches wide, right? And and they have a nice split across the top, right?
Okay,
Um,
like a dinner roll, like a
yes, the like
Subway
or
dinner roll.
in
Okay.
the Ontario region in Canada, we see them often called Italian buns, right? But
So
these
it's
have a nice
like
little.
a crusty bun and a soft interior. Okay,
Exactly, yeah, crusty brown
got
with a
it.
soft interior, and
So
they.
it needs like a nice burst, break
Yes,
and
it has
shred
to
on the
have
top.
this nice. It has an almost a wild sort of tear break
Oh,
where the split is.
okay.
You can kind of see it. It looks like fingers folded in when it has good strength and really has kind of punched up,
Got
right?
it.
Um,
Okay.
and it's a really nice, and in that area of Mexico, it's a staple food. While we tend to assimilate or assume tortillas primarily of Mexico, but there's a lot of areas in Mexico and in Latin America in general where they really like breads a lot. And so this is something that traditionally is being fresh baked all day long, right? So he needs to have a 24-hour retarded proof to be able to facilitate this so that he
That
can
would
be
help.
continuously baking all day.
Yes.
And so they're obviously making a great product because they needed to increase production and they switched to a mechanical divider, an automatic divider. And instead they were doing a manual divider before where they would put the dough in a machine, press a button, it would divide it into a bunch of pieces, and then they would work it off and run it through. And this one now it divides it into pieces and throws it into the former right away. So the nice thing about this post is that it goes on. It's quite an extensive conversation, and every part of it is really informative, and it's really professional, and it's cordial and stuff, right?
So what was the problem?
So the problem is reaching the 24-hour retardation was not possible when they added the divider. They ended up the buns were ready after 12 hours. If they went
Wow.
any longer than the 12-hour retardation, they lost strength and the buns wouldn't split nicely. They wouldn't jump as well as they should, right? Um, and so through a bunch of troubleshooting through several members here and Rodrigo answering all the questions and things. And that's the thing that is like, well, we see something, we ask a question, give us a response. We're not trying to steal anything. We're trying to help you. But the more information we have, the easier it is to help.
Mhm.
And so he's answering all the questions and going through all the steps. And so we come through several conversations with people talking about, well, try under mixing. He's tried adding SSL, sodium stearyl lactylate. I think that's going in the wrong direction because that will shorten your mix time and that'll make the dough relax more. It's not going to give it more strength, right? He tried adding datums. Well, that might give it some jump, but not with a long fermentation like that usually. So then he's tried different things, and he tried adding gluten to it, and things. And so a couple people kept jumping in, and started then also talking about enzymes, glucose oxidase, or what was the other one? Was the transglutaminase, right? And so he took everything in and he tried the recommendations from the different members. So we have Richard, we have Noor, we have Yuri, we have Jim, we have Jose, we have Roy. Everybody's trying to help Rodrigo.
Thank you, everyone.
Right? So,
thank you.
yes, big thank you to everyone. Right? And so we got his problem solved. Basically, he needed a little bit longer floor time, a little bit under mixing, longer floor time, and the transglutaminase to help with the fermentation afterwards, right? So that then he got that dough strength back and starting to get that nice split again on his buns and being able to keep up with the demands for his bakery as he continues to grow with the quality of his product, right? So
yeah, and you
really,
know what? Yeah. Let me take a
bird's
bird's
eye
eye
view,
view on this entire process. Things are very different when you go from manual hand dividing to high output dough dividing, okay? And the biggest difference is the kind of dough conditioners, okay? Because the manual hand dividing is very gentle. The high output dough dividing is very stressful. And with stressful processes, you need better oxidation, you need better strength in the dough.
Yep.
And this is why potassium bromate was created for, right? Potassium bromate naturally helps strengthen the dough and helps heal the networks after it divides. And that's why with potassium bromate, you can go up to like 24 hours of proof time, okay? But because potassium bromate has been, developed out of our
in most
ingredient
countries
statements, right? Yeah. Now we only can use ADA, ascorbic acid, even ADA is out of the question now. We can use ascorbic acid, transglutaminase, SSL datum.
Yep.
So with a mix of all these things, he should be able to get where he wants to go.
Yep.
But again, I think the little suggestions from everyone else is great, but the bird's eye view of this thing is don't forget when you go from a manual to a high output process, you have to change your dough conditioning system.
Now this whole experience that he has gone through reminds me a lot of my time working with a customer at a chain of stores across Canada, where their main product was Kaisers, the big Kaiser buns, like 100 grams, 4-ounce Kaiser buns, right? And beautiful buns. But the slightest change in the treatments after we got rid of potassium bromate, it was so critical because they were taking the dough out of the mixer with minimal floor time, and it would go into a Rex. And the Rex is a divider that it divides the dough and it drops 3 pieces at a time into the former, so that rounds them, and then that drops them into another former that puts the Kaiser twist into it, and then it just goes on a belt to be dropped on the tray. And so it is really harsh, like you said, compared to the manual process. It doesn't have any in-between floor time, nothing. And so it's great that we were able to help them out and that everybody pitched in, and it was wonderful to see. It's the whole purpose of this forum.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Mark, for your input on that one. Next one, I would like to ask you about the issue with wafer style products that requires magnesium carbonate.
Mhm.
Is that right? This particular baker is trying to replace magnesium carbonate.
Yes, he makes a very specialized kind of a product that is like a hollow wafer tray. Um, so it's not a rolled up item. It's not a completely flat item, but it has pockets in it for where filling goes in afterwards. And so the magnesium carbonate is focusing on the carbonate side of it, like sodium bicarbonate, or it is actually magnesium bicarbonate is what is the correct name for it, is that it's a type of leavening agent that helps with release from the mold, right? From the mold of the, nothing to do with shelf life, the mold that shapes the wafer, right? And so this person was asking if he could use magnesium stearate. Well, he was, asking for help because he's out of the magnesium bicarbonate and can't get it right now. And I guess maybe his supplier just thought, well, magnesium is magnesium, and how about magnesium stearate, right? Well, that's for saponification. It's something that's used more in fats and oils, right? For making soap.
How do you want your wafers to taste soapy?
So if you want to make the fat in your wafer taste soapy, that'll work. But yes, again, members came in and quite a bit of discussion and suggestions, and all very cordial again, and back and forth and stuff. And it seems that they kind of came to the conclusion to maybe try some sodium bicarbonate as an alternate.
Absolutely.
That, because it's really here, it's about being able to get a little bit of aeration so that it pushes off the mold. So that's all it is.
Yeah,
right?
that's all you need. Yeah. I mean, there are other possible substitutions as well, but the carbonate part is important. So you can
it's
even
going to
use
help with browning and
or
even
sodium
coloring too.
carbonate.
Yeah, it's going to help with.
That's true. Yes, the coloring. That's true. Yeah, the pH. You bring up the pH, the more brownish color you'll get.
Yeah, and if it doesn't want to use
excellent.
sodium bicarbonate, calcium bicarbonate would be the other.
Calcium bicarbonate. Yeah, even calcium carbonate would work as well.
Yes, calcium carbonate would work as well. Yeah.
All right, so that's great that we helped solve a non-bread, non-cake, I don't know what you call wafers. What category do they fall under?
Category mostly, right?
Snack category.
Yeah.
I bet you these wafers are used for, like those. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I bet you these wafers are used for, those kind of chocolate filling, like kudos.
That's what I was thinking.
Yummy.
Yeah.
This is yummy. Probably like absolutely snacks.
Chocolate filling and then coated again in chocolate.
Yeah, that looks.
You have that
like really
crunchy layer in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love playing with those kinds of textures in pastries and desserts and things like that. It's really, really nice. There's a cake that I like to make once in a while, and it actually make like a thin wafer like cookie crunch that I crumble up and then just coat it with chocolate to keep it crunchy. And the chocolate also helps it bind together. So this becomes like my crunchy layer inside of the cake between the mousse, and it's really nice.
Oh, that's amazing. All right.
I'll make you one next time I come out and visit, right?
Yeah. Let's do one more question. This one is from someone who is using the Chorleywood bread process.
Yes, this is from
Mark, for those that are not familiar with the Chorleywood bread process, can you share with us what that means?
Well, the first time I saw one, I thought, like, why are they using a giant food processor in the bakery? So
I know, I was so fascinated. I was in England 3 years ago, and I really wanted to go see a Chorleywood bread process.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was totally taken aback by the whole process, but it's a short time
It's
though.
very short time. It seems to work really well. I mean, it's very popular in the UK. And I think that has to do with not just the level of protein, but in terms of the quality, the type of protein, that it works really well with those short mixing times and everything else. It's a really cool process, right? Because it really works well for high output type of white breads or toast breads and things like that. And and so areas where Great Britain used to be, or the United Kingdom had the most land area in the world, was all part of the United Kingdom, which
Hmm.
included areas like Singapore and Malaysia and things. This was all under British rule at one time. And
Right.
so you see a lot of these British influences still in many areas. And this fellow is from Malaysia. And so he is working with the Chorleywood process, and he wants to improve his dough stability, because he gets continual changes on the grist, the wheat flour throughout the year. So in Malaysia, they get a very wide variety of wheat sources. Majority of it is from Australia,
Yeah,
but they
I was just
also
gonna
do
say
get
that.
some from China and things like that. So it's all
Hmm.
about the grist blends. And as we know, like in the Western US where we don't grow wheat, but like in California, there's been a lot of problems with drought and heat. And there's been similar problems in Australia in the wheat growing areas. And so that adds to inconsistencies in your wheat source in terms of things. So it makes it's not as stable as, a lot of the things when we go from crop year to crop year in the US and in Canada, we are pretty blessed most of the time. There's no big changes most of the time. But if you're in a, on an island or in a, a country like Malaysia where you have less of that natural resource yourself, you're importing and stuff, you're kind of stuck with whatever's on the boat, right? I mean,
Yep.
and you got to make the best of it. And so, advice to the basically
So what is
to
this baker? What is the problem that this baker is experiencing?
well, he's experiencing problems with inconsistencies on his results. Um, he can use flour that is bromated, but he doesn't want to because they're getting more and more requests to get away from it, right? Um, and so he's using ascorbic acid and some ADA, datum, and SSL. Um, and his bread improver might have amylase in it, he thinks, emulsifier and ascorbic acid.
And
Um,
what is he trying to do?
so
What
his
is the
wet
problem
gluten is
really?
around 29. Um, he's trying to get better consistency in the size of his loaves, is that they come out too small sometimes, right? Um, and so
That
he's,
is frustrating.
yeah,
Short dough process,
it's a very
small
short dough
loaves.
process. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds like really expensive dough conditioners and yeast to me.
yeah. Yeah.
But you can't change the process. Process is given to you. You gotta just work and deal with it. Uh, the flour is of absolute importance. The flour
Yeah.
quality. So I would actually invest in a rheological flour instrumentation
Mhm.
like the Mixolab, and even falling number, or something similar like that, just so that you can keep an eye on your quality. So start from there.
And
And
yeah, and he may be resting a little too long from part of the
yeah,
problem.
short dose, you can't
Yeah,
rest too
needs to
long.
process right away. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, don't forget, we have a lot of papers on Baker Academy on flour quality that anyone can read up on. If you have the chance to really train yourself and your team, understand flour quality, because that's that's crucial to your start point, to whatever you
Yep.
start with.
Yep.
And when you have that basic knowledge on understanding flour quality, then your the the product quality issues are going to be less, right? And Mark, I really get this pushback from bakers all the time in trying to put in a receiving program. The biggest issue is, Lin, I can't reject any flour loads. I can't, and the issue is not for you to reject it. The issue is for you to watch it and make sure that you communicate the issues with your millers before you absolutely need to reject it, right? But put a rejection protocol in place because
Exactly.
you
Like
need to
if
understand your flour quality.
if your flour has especially if you have a spec set up, a specification range set up with your supplier, you can never have a range that says it's going to be exactly 10.2% protein. No, but
No,
you're going to
you
have a
just set it
range
to the
that is
range,
acceptable,
right?
right? That
Right.
works well without adjustments in your facility. And if a load comes in and it doesn't meet that specification, then before you put it into production, it's okay to put it in your silo, go ahead. But before you put it into production, you call the technical director of your supplier, make sure you have a good relationship there. And
Absolutely.
it's like, hey, I just got this load delivered. It's out of spec by this. What is my best course of action? Or you have a direct line to their technical support people who can tell you, hey, like somebody like a Jose Lopez on our team who can say, hey, this is what you need to do with that flour. This is what you need to do, and it'll work in your system. You'll be fine. And and most of the time, that's all there is. There's not going to be any claims. There's not going to be any losses, and everybody is
Exactly.
happy because the miller doesn't want you to reject it either, because they're going to have to pay
No.
for the freight to come to go there, come back, blow it back into their mill, and find somebody else to take it. Right? I mean, everybody's going to
Yeah.
lose on that, and not just the
But
big.
then, Mark, I mean, you've been a miller for the longest time,
Mhm.
okay, and you've seen and heard about rejection loads, okay. This is not new. Rejection loads happens,
Yep.
okay, but the miller is not going to lose any money.
Mm-hmm.
If you reject that flour, it's only going to be brought back to the mill and it's going to be remixed with the right moisture ash protein. So it's not a total,
It's
it's
not a
not a
total
total
loss
loss
to
to
the
the
miller.
miller.
No, he only loses on
Exactly.
the
So
freight
I want
costs.
people to know that. I want to be, it's not like you baking bread that is small in size. You have to throw that all away.
Yeah.
Right. For the millers, all they need to do is take a proportion of it and mix it with the rest of the correct
And
wheat.
they don't want you to have small bread either, because then
Yeah,
you're going to put in a
exactly.
claim with the miller to say, I have 5,000 loaves of bread I couldn't sell. You're going to have to pay me for the flour, for the labor, for everything, right? And they don't
Mm-hmm.
want that either, because that costs way
Mm-hmm.
more than just the flour or the freight, right?
This is why when people talk about grist quality, we'll talk about flour quality, it's important for you to put in a flour quality laboratory in your bakery,
Yep.
especially with the Chorleywood bread process.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
with
work with
that
your miller.
with that implementation, then the communication between your miller happens. If you don't have a flour quality program, then there will be no communication. There's no place to start, So, if there is a flour quality seminar coming up, all of you should be in there to listen to us answer questions on flour quality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all, I want to say to this particular question, Mark, because I think this is not a isolated incident. This happens in many, many bakeries and
Yep.
across the world. And the best way to address it is let's look at flour quality.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our friends at KPMG Analytics, I mean, They just have fabulous instruments and really fabulous people to help with all of that.
Yeah, the science is there. The science is there to help everyone. Everyone
Yeah.
just needs to get trained and understand the philosophy behind that science. Yeah,
Yep.
it's not difficult. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on today's Forum Friday. And I will see you again next month. Do you have
Yep.
any other, do you have last words for all the bakers out there?
We have a great artisan bread seminar coming up on June 30th. This is going to be super interesting and informative because, we think of artisan breads as just being for small retailers. It isn't anymore. We have two sponsors with the seminar. We have ECD, ECD, Electronic Bake Watch.
Yeah, electronic control
Control,
design.
yeah,
Yeah,
data, and Bake Watch with the thermal profiling, and we have Ashworth Brothers who have the processing lines,
conveyors. Yeah,
and so it's going to
computerized.
be really interesting, and looking forward to that on June 30th. So if you're not signed up yet, make sure you signed up. It's free, but you got to sign up to be able to get in, and it's going to be very interesting, and looking forward to that one.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark. I'll see you
All right.
soon.
And
Bye.
happy Canada Day and happy 4th to
Oh,
everyone.
happy Canada Day. Yeah. Happy 4th of July.
Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.